Ladies and gentlemen, it's that time again.
It's time for the J. Craig 5, maybe 10-minute movie review. Hey everybody, welcome back to another edition of the 5-minute, 10-minute movie review. I am Jay of the J. Craig, and today we're going to be talking about Paul Thomas Anderson's The Phantom Thread. It has now been nominated for Best Picture, Best Director, and of course, Best Actor by Daniel Day-Lewis. Now, this might not be a full 5 minutes because there's not a whole heck of a lot to talk about when it comes to The Phantom Thread, but let's start talking about Paul Thomas Anderson. In my last review, I mentioned how Steven Spielberg's subject matter sometimes doesn't always grab my attention, and the same thing can be said for the 8 movies by Paul Thomas Anderson. His subject matter doesn't always do it for me, and I don't always want to see his movies, but he has built up an incredible amount of credibility based upon the 2 movies that I absolutely adore by him. First is Boogie Nights with Mark Wahlberg, and the second one is Daniel Day-Lewis teaming up with Paul Thomas Anderson for the first time in There Will Be Blood. So because of those 2 movies, and of course because of that combination, I had an interest to see this movie. Now, if it didn't have those two people involved, and it was just about a tailor and his muse and the love story that goes on because of that, well, I wouldn't have seen this movie. Now, this is probably the antithesis of There Will Be Blood. It's the complete opposite of what that movie had going for it. And what it's about is post-World War II. It's about the 1950s, and it's about a tailor who makes gowns and dresses for the elite, for the sophisticated elite in all over the world. And it's about a muse that he becomes infatuated with that gives him his motivation and inspiration. And it's about the love story that happens because of that. Now, there is a little bit of deeper things going on with the fact that the love story that happens is due to her shaking up his meticulously well-planned out life. And I guess if you're trying to pinpoint what this movie is really about, it's about how love can shake up your world in the right way. And that's essentially it. So the gentleman behind me said after the movie, I overheard him say anyways, he wasn't talking to me, but he said, I'm not sophisticated enough to enjoy this movie. And I totally understand what he means. It's not a very interesting movie at all. However, it is superbly acted by Daniel Day-Lewis and his sister, not his sister, but the sister in the movie is really good, and so is the love story, Alma, the love interest. So it's really well acted. It's directed very, very well, obviously, by Paul Thomas Anderson. And, it's beautiful. I mean, it is a gorgeous movie. The shots are amazing. It's got great cinematography. It looks like it belongs in that time frame. But ultimately, the story is just very, very dry. And there's a little bit of humor throughout that I kept laughing at. I don't think anybody else did, but I found amusing. So I enjoyed the movie. I know a lot of people will not like it because it is slow. There's not a lot going on. And there is a twist at the end, not an M. Night Shyamalan twist, but a twist in far as how it ends up. So there's not much more to say about this movie other than I'm not surprised it's up for an Oscar. I'm not surprised that it's up for an Oscar for Best Director or for Best Actor. And I really wish that something like Wind River or Mother got an Oscar for this as well, because I found those movies to be far more interesting and far better movies overall. But, of course, the Oscars are not about what's best. It's about what's more popular. And, of course, anytime you have Paul Thomas Anderson and you have Daniel Day-Lewis in a movie, they're going to get Oscar nominations. And I have no doubt that Daniel Day-Lewis will pick up the Oscar for this movie, if for no other reason than this is his last performance. That's right, folks. This is Daniel Day-Lewis's last role as he's retiring. So we know that the Oscars aren't always about what's good, but sometimes it's about what's most popular. So this is the last performance by him, so that pretty much kind of gives him the Oscar. I hope you enjoyed this edition of the 5-minute, 10-minute movie review. I am Jay of the J. Craig. Don't forget to visit us at thejaycraig.com and follow us on SoundCloud, YouTube, iTunes, Twitter, and Facebook as The J. Craig Podcast.